So hi everyone. So let's start. So yesterday we have seen about the introduction of the Spring MVC, right? So today we will start with the project so that we can understand it better. So before starting, any doubt from the previous session? Yeah, anyone?
No, sir.
No? Okay, let's start. So for starting, I will be using this. Told you yesterday as well. I will be using the Eclipse. So I hope you have installed the same, right? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, we have Eclipse.
Okay, great. Okay, let's start. Let me share my screen. Let me
So
share.
yesterday you teach Spring framework.
We started with the introduction of the Spring MVC. I have given the overview of the Spring MVC, right?
Okay,
Do
okay,
that again so that you will also get an idea.
okay.
Okay. So in Spring MVC, so we have model, view, and controller, right? So
Hmm.
model is like your data. Let's say I have some student data, right?
Hmm.
So the actual data is your model, right? And view is like how you're
Hmm.
representing them. It's in form of table. In the your screen, I want to show that. That is a view, right?
Hmm.
Right. So whenever you send any request, let's say when you want to see that data on your screen, you will send a request. Okay. If you want to see the data, you will send a get request. Okay. If you want to update the data, you will send a put request. Let's say you have the form, you want to create a data, you will send a post request. Or if you want to delete the data, some entry, you will send a delete request. So for that, you have to send different HTTP requests. And that HTTP request will be accepted by the controller, okay, which in this case will be your dispatcher servlet, okay, in which you will be defined with the help of mapping that when we have this request, this function will be called, right? If this is a function, this is a request, this function will be called. Then in that we have a service layer in which we will do the modification. Let's say if this is a function call, then we give the data, we update the data or delete the data, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So in there we have the view resolver as well. So view resolver tell us to which view to present on the screen, right? So we send back that view with the data, and that will display on screen. So that is a high level overview. We'll understand it much better when we start a project. Okay. So yesterday was just the introduction of the some concept which we need to learn. Okay.
Okay, sure, sure.
Okay. Let's start. Let me share my screen. Just let me know when are you able to see my screen.
Yeah, yeah, we can see.
Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, let's get a project. Okay, so first of all, we will be getting a Maven project in this basically. So, just a minute. Yeah. So, first of all, what is Maven? Any idea? Have you heard about this?
Maven is a build tool, and we create Java projects with the help of Maven. And in the Maven, we this is based on the POM files, and it's mainly used for the internal as well as external dependencies. And we can get the build or package once the I mean project is complete. So then after that, that package or build we can use for the further deployment.
Perfect, perfect. So basically, we are going to make the Maven project. Let's take a scenario of the student management data, right? So we have a data, we want to see them, we want to perform all the CRUD operation. Okay, so as I told you, is correct. Maven is a build automation and dependency management tool for Java, right? So
Hmm.
you can think of it like your projects manager, right? So it pulls up the libraries you need, like Spring Hibernate, right? It builds your project and organizes your code into standard structure, right? So
Hmm.
as you told, yeah, it uses a file called pom.xml that is a project object model to do all of this sort, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now to create a Maven project in Eclipse, you have to open this Eclipse first of all, as you can see on my screen. Okay. Just fire up your Eclipse ID, then go to the file. Okay. Here, then go to the new, and then go to the Maven project, right? Okay. So then you will select the particular locations. Yeah, so this create this option. Yeah. So when you select this option, go to the next.
Actually, your screen now we can see only that.
Okay, let me share the entire screen. Let me share the entire screen maybe. I think I've shared the one window only. Let me share it. Just give me 1 minute. Let me share the entire screen. Now you can see it properly.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. So as I told you, just go to the file, this option, then new, then the Maven project. Okay. Then you select this option and click next. Okay. So you have to grip the group ID and the artifact ID. So basically, this is like your package name or the organization name, right? So let's keep it simple. Let's say com.example. Okay. Or if you want to give it something else, you can give, let's say, com.student app or something like.
You
Let's give,
can give like com dot student
yeah,
value,
yeah,
student value.
student app. You can give anything, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
fine.
yeah, an artifact ID is your project name, which is project name you want to give. Let's give it student management. Okay. Yeah. And version by default it is 0.0.1 on snapshot, a snapshot version under development, right? And packaging should be uh
The jar file, it will create the jar file. Yeah.
var file for the web application.
Okay.
Okay.
So
And then
one second, I have one question. In this packaging, there are three options: .com, .jar, .var. Which one is used for what purpose? I mean, just want to know that why we are only choosing this var. Can we choose jar or com also? And
yeah, basically most okay, basically you can for now only we can use anything, but it's more standard to use var for the web application. It is meant for that only.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. So when you okay, so this mainly into focus about group ID, which is your let's say package name, and the artifact ID, which is your project name, right? So then click
Yeah,
finish.
one question. But
Mhm.
as you selected var, we can select jar and pom also. That's not a problem. Or we
Not
need to
okay.
select only var. That's it.
No, no. Even if you click jar, you it will work. Don't worry for that. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's more standard. So let's see. Again. So you can see this has created this project structure, right? So we have this project name student management. This form.xml by default we have, and this we
By
had
default,
source.
it's PM.
Yeah, we have main and test. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see this. So basically, you need to focus on this only. Mainly, we need to focus on this main and test file, right? In main, we write a code, and to test that code, we write a corresponding test file in test, right? Okay. And then we have source. Is it done? So, yeah, we have this web meta format.xml. I hope you're done so far. Yes, done so far.
You are asking anything?
Yeah, I am asking done so far. And out.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, great. So what we have done so far is just we created a project using the Maven, right? So this give us a skeleton project structure, and yeah, so it will help us to by maintain the dependency, right? Basically for that only. Okay, now if we have the clear folder, so we folder structure, we have pom.xms, right, which we can use as dependency. Now with can we make project without Maven? Yes, we can make project without Maven as well. But in that case, you have to manually download the jar files, right? And then you have to manage the class path. But that will be a lot of tasks, right? So Maven makes just our task easier. So whatever dependency you need, just mention in the pom.xml file. Okay, it will auto download those for you, right? Okay, so let's start.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the pom.xml, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, you can see this like we have. Okay, so you have to mention different dependency. Okay, so pom.xml, as I told you, is represent for the project object model. Okay, it is a brain of your Maven project, right? Inside it, you can define the project information like the name and the version, the dependency for your app, the libraries your app needs, right? And various plugins, the build tools like compiler, var packaging, like that, and repositories, right? So where Maven finds those libraries, right? Okay, so dependency, let's look at each of these one by one. So first of all, if you talk about MVC dependency, so Spring MVC help you to handle the HTTP request, okay, process the business logic, and then return a response, which is usually a JSP. I told you yesterday, right? Okay, so it we have different annotations, right? As we have added controller, added request mapping, model in the view, right, and all this. Okay, so I think before adding to the configuration file, it will be easy for you to write the code first. I think that it will be more easy to understand. That's why we are adding the dependency. Just give me a minute. Okay, so as I told you, we will be making the student management portal. So in this, like when we have the browser user in the browser will request, okay, so that request will be handled by the controller. It will look for the corresponding function, okay, then it will return the corresponding view which will be seen on the screen, right? So let's first see which type of data we will be working with. Okay, so firstly we need to have a database and in the table student, right? So one thing is that you can either use MySQL, okay, or you can use Hibernate auto generated, right? Okay, let's if you want to get manual, you can do that as well, or you can use Hibernate. Okay, both will be work fine.
Can you use Hibernate?
Yeah, we can use Hibernate. Hibernate is auto generated. Okay, let's do that. So first, let me go to the quiz. So you have to make a proper folder structure as well. You have to maintain that. Whenever you're creating a model, you will create all the model inside a model folder. Whenever you're creating a new service class, you will get all in a service folder, right? So you have to maintain that folder as well, right? So let me just show you. So let me in this source main Java. Let's get a new class.
Sir,
Yes, please ask.
sir, I have installed the Java JDK version for 2024 Java 17.0.12.
Mm-hmm.
Does it will affect or it
No,
can be
it
run?
will work fine. It will work fine. Work fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's make a new class. Mm. Let's make a folder first inside this. I want it to be the model. Student app dot model. So inside that I will create a class. Let's make it the name student dot Java. Okay. Okay, so firstly, we're building out this model class. So you understand. So whatever table we have correspond to that, we will making a class in Java in this file, right? So since this is under the package com.studentapp.model, so you have to write first line the package, right? So package, this is your must. Otherwise, it will give the error. So package com.studentapp.model. Okay. Next, let's start it. Is it not exist? Why it's showing that?
In the group ID, we need to write com.example.com, student.com, like that.
So what we have mentioned, okay, like
Just let me know. It's okay. Just
yeah,
com.student.app.model.
what you said?
In the group ID, I need to write com.studentapp.model or student app only.
When you're making a project, you're saying
Ah,
that,
ah,
yeah, you can mention anything. Simple com.example will also work. Don't worry. So com.student app, whatever you want to mention, it will work. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
What about artifact ID?
Artifact ID is the project name which you want to give.
Okay.
Okay. So that is maybe student management or whatever you want to give. Okay.
Okay, fine.
And let me just delete this and I don't know why it's giving me a maybe I have to change it. Okay. Maybe some issue with the project. Let me just quickly do it. Yeah, I'm showing it again. Let me quickly do that. Okay. So if in the group ID, you can mention com dot student app. Okay. And in this, you can write student
Management.
management. Student management. Okay.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So we'll have, let's make it work. Yeah, it's building. Yeah. So I have this source to this. Let's get a new class inside this. Okay. So firstly, we're creating a student model class, right? So we will mention it student dot Java. Okay. You can write the package name, which will be the com dot student app dot model. Okay. So it will automatically add it.
Java class public and inherited abstract. com.studentapp.model package. Student management source main Java.
Don't need to be right the name. Yeah. You can see. So this is the first class which you're making, which is a student, right? So basically this represent your actual data, right? So
Hmm.
now, okay, so there are a lot of the annotations which you have to use. So basically, let's first try the fields. So when we create a student data, let's say what fields should we have? We will be having the ID, right? So let's write private integer ID. We must be having the name of the student, email, and the course, right? So write that as well. Private string name, then private string email, sorry, then we have the private string course. Okay, let's say we have these details only: ID, name, email, and a course, right? And next we can have the constructor to initialize this. Okay, so first of all, you should have a default constructor. It's a public student, and then we have parameters constructor to initialize the values to public student. We are having string name.
In the package name, what we put it when we are creating the class com.student app dot model.
It's com.studentapp.model. Yeah, can you see in the top?
But in my it's telling type name is not valid.
No
Dot
worry, I will give you
com dot
time, and that time you can
student.
try that. Okay. For now, just listen and just see carefully, right? I will give
Okay,
you the time to implement the same. Even that, if you get error, you can share the screen, right?
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now just see it. Okay. So what we did is we created a student class. In this, we add a fields: ID, name, email, course, then default constructor and parameters constructor. So
Hmm.
we will adding the name, email, and the course. Okay. So we can initialize that. This dot name is equal to the value provided with the parameter, and this dot email equal to email, and this dot course is equal to the course. Okay. So now we have defined the fields, the constructors. Now we'll define the getter and setter function so that we can access these values. So if you give here, let's define, so public integer get ID. So it will return the ID. Okay. So we can create a function to set the ID. So public void set ID. You will pass the ID and you will set the ID. This dot ID is equal to ID. Similarly, you can do for other fields, the get name and the uh, email and the course, right? Let's quickly do that. Okay, let's quickly copy these and do for the name, email, and the course, right? So you can say get name, okay, and you can return the name, okay, or you can say the set name.
I think you
You
have
can,
not taken variable ID or it will automatically generate ID.
we can make it auto generated. Okay, so yeah,
Do
so
you
there's
need
no
to?
need for, I think, setter, but we need getter, right? So yeah, no worry, I'm just telling you the, yeah, we need to write getter and setter. Okay,
Okay,
maybe we're not using them, right? This particularly we are not using, maybe, yeah,
okay,
but
no
no
issue.
harm in adding that function, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's set a string name, and we can set the name as start name is equal to the name, and then we have the name we have done, then we have the email, so get the email, and then we have the set
Course.
email, so we need to pass the email, so this dot email is equal to the email, and the last one is the course, right? So get course, and we can return the course and set course, and we have here string course, and then we have Fields dot course is equal to the course. Yeah. Now let's see. Oh,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to change the types in string. Yes, continue if you have find out.
No, no. Actually, there was silence. Then I thought, what might be
Okay.
some screen issue or something.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. So what we have done is we created a student class in that we added the fields ID, name, email, and course, and we added the constructor, default constructor, and parameters constructor to initialize that. Okay. Then we have for each field we added the getter and setter function, so that we don't need to access them directly. We will use this function to access and modify that. Right. Okay. Now, now before that, now to make it working, so the special thing about the MVC, we need to add some annotations, right? So what are those? So we need to add here at the rate entity. Okay. So let's say we're working on a project. Okay. So we will have different entities. Like in this case, we have a student entity. Maybe we have being the school as entity. Maybe we're having the like that. Okay. When we make e-commerce, okay, the product is one entity. So different entities we create a separate classes, right? Just like that. Okay. Now you will map say this is a okay. Now this is a table. Okay, this is a table in the actual database, right? So you will have to add annotation table. Okay, so mainly this all about annotations. You can specify that we have actually a table with the name student. So we have to map this to that. Okay, okay. In actual table we will be having these fields ID, name, email, course. So now you have to map that. Okay, so how we will share that? So we'll add an annotation again here, ID. Okay, so if you want to make it generated automatically, you have to add here generated generated value. You can specify the strategy. I will explain that. Don't worry. So we have generation type dot identity in caps. Okay. So what is going on? Let me explain. So when I write at the rate entity, and sorry, spelling mistake. Yeah. So what is added entity? So hibernate annotation, that is with that mark the class as an entity, right? So hibernate will map this class to the table in your database, right? So without this, hibernate will not know that it need to interact with the database, right? So you need to add it. Then next we have this annotation added a table, name is your students. So this is a table mapping. So this will tell the Hibernate that this class is corresponding to the students table in your database, right? Then you have the added ID, right? So this is a primary key. This annotations indicate that this ID field act as a primary key of the table. Okay. Then you have also written at the generator value strategy is equal to generation type dot identity. So this tells the auto increment, right? So this will tell the Hibernate to auto generate the ID value using your database auto increment strategy, right?
Hmm.
Next, we have the fields name, email, and the course. These are three attributes of the student entity. Okay, so each one will be mapped to the column in the student name, right? So name is to the name, email to the email, course to the course, of course. So no annotations are needed here because Hibernate will be automatically map these fields to the column, right? So then we have this default constructor. So this is required by Hibernate for creating objects by reflections. Then we have this parameterized constructor. So this is required by Hibernate for creating objects by reflections. Then we have this getter and setters. So these getter and setters will allow us to access and modify the fields of the student object. It is important for the Hibernate and for the Java Beans convention as well, which we'll see later. Okay. One thing more, we can add a toString function to display all the details to student, like say ID, name, and email. Let's write that. So we'll write one more function which will override it. So let's override public string. Let's say when we create a new student, we can see all the details of that, right? That is toString. Okay. So let's in this we're basically returning a string in which showing all the details of student. Let's say student, okay, with ID. What is ID? We can show that. Okay. Then we can show the name. Then we can show the email. Okay, and the last thing we have the course. And that we can close this. Yeah. So I hope this is clear. So in this, basically, we have nice toString functions so that we can print human readable version of the student object, right? So it will help us in debugging and logging, right? So the most important thing which you need to understand is every entity must have the primary key. Okay, that is at the ID which we have mentioned. Okay, it must have, right? And Hibernate uses the reflections to create instances of your class and maps the value from the database to the object, right? So you have this model class, right? So now we will make the other DAO classes and services, okay, and controllers files content. So any doubt on this? Okay.
No, so here where we are using Hibernate in this?
Yes, because the data we are not like we will not be using actual database. We will be using the Hibernate data. So when you create the data, it will require us to mention these details in the file, this file. Okay, then only it will be able to connect. Like we need to mention added entity, added ID. Hibernate required from our side that we must have these tags, right?
Okay.
That to map it. Okay.
So now you will create DAO class.
Yeah, we'll come to that. So
Yeah.
I have not added the imports here. I will add, okay. But when we write a dependency in the Pomodoro XML file, it will first install that, okay. Then it will give the suggestion. That will be easy, okay. For now,
Okay.
I just don't want to confuse you with the configuration file in the first day. That's why I have start with the code part first, okay. We
Okay.
will add the configuration, then it will be automatically added. Yeah. Any doubt in this function in this class?
In the last, we have done the override. Can we go to
Mhm.
the last
This
step?
one?
Public
Yeah.
string to convert to string, return student ID, name, all. So this will be written after.
No, no.
Uh,
Let's say this is a simple student class, right?
yeah, yeah.
Let's say I create a new object of the student with a name, let's say ABC, let's
Hmm.
say email
Hmm.
and the course, right? So when
Hmm.
I create that student, so this class will return me this simple string in which it will show me all the details of the student. So like I have created a student with these details so that it's a human readable format, right? So that you can understand what we have built, what values we have passed, is it correct or something wrong, like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's automatically printed on the screen whenever you create a new project object.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So any doubt in this file? Yeah, any doubt?
No, no.
Okay. So now let's proceed further. So now we are entering the world of data access. Okay. So the part where the app actually talks to a database to retrieve and modify the student data, right? So we will create the DAO interface and its implementation. In DAO interface, we just mentioned that these are the methods we will be using. We are not implementing that. Okay. So we'll be implementing in a separate. Okay. So it's like this. We will tell it I need this function, this function, this function in the interface, and implementation. In implementation, we will implement those methods. Okay. So that will allow us to interact with the database using the Hibernate. Okay. So the DAO, that is data access object pattern, will help us to decouple the database logic from the rest of the applications. Okay. So now let's start with this. Okay. Just I told you we need two for classes, one for the interface, one for the implementation. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with the interface. So let me just create that. So uh, in this only, we'll create a new class now. Okay, so you can give it the name student DAO. Okay, so and package you can, instead of this you can give DAO instead of model. Okay, so you can see now it's in a separate folder DAO. So I told you each thing will be separate. Models will be separate, DAO will be separate, service will be separate, controller will be separate, right? Now in this, what we have to do is we just try to mention which functions we need, right? Okay, we don't need to implement that. Okay, we will implement in the another class, right? So this is
Okay.
just the interface. Okay, so now let's start it. Okay, so since it's an interface, you can change it's from the class to the interface. Okay, next. Okay, now which methods you need? So you want to save the data, right? So you mean just need a function to save a student, right? So you need a function to save a student to the database, right? What else you need? You need to get all the data, right? Function to get all the students from the database, right? What else you need? Yes, you may want to get a particular student data, right? So get a student by ID. So you may want to update a particular student, right? So you may want to update the students data. You want to delete a particular student, right? So delete a student by ID. Okay, so you need these methods. So let's write just the function's name. Okay, so let's give it void. Okay, since it's not going to return anything, let's give it a name save students. Okay, and we'll pass the actual student object which we want to save. That is student. Okay, okay, so you can see we have created a student model early, right? So now let's say we have that object and we want to save into the database. So we'll use a function save student, right? Let's say we want to get all the data. Now it will be the list of students, right? So it will be list of student. You can call the function get all students. Okay, yeah, so it will give you the recommendation to add the imports. Just click on that, right? Next, if maybe you want to get a particular student, so it will return a particular student. Okay, you can get a name it get a student by ID, student by ID. So you can pass the ID. Okay, so whenever you also making some project, just doing this way only. So first thing, which models you need. Okay, currently I just need one model that is student. Okay, in which I have the name, email, course, and ID. Second, you will think about the DAO logic. Okay, how you are manipulating data, right? So for now, I'm using this DAO, these functions, and then I will implement those. Okay. Now let's say if I want to update. Okay, so I will use the. I will not return anything, but I will update particular student, right? So update student. You can pass which students you want to update student. Okay, and then next last we want to delete. So void delete student, and you can pass the ID which you want to delete. So is this clear? Any other function we need? Yes or no?
No, no. Just I have one question. See, in
Yeah.
the three steps, like in create and delete and update, we are using void, and then after that method. But in the
Mhm.
when we are reading the data, we are not using void. We are just writing list student get all students. So
Okay. So this is return type, na? So when
yeah,
you are updating a student, you will not return anything,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
understand.
But when you're
We
getting the
need to
data, you're
return.
getting a list of student, right?
Yeah, understand.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, and out so far?
No.
Okay, so this is a function to which we can use to add a new student to the database. This will retrieve all the students from the database, and this will fetches a student by the unique ID, and this will modifies an existing student information, and this will delete a student from the database. Right now we have the implementation ready, interface ready. Now we'll create an implementation. So
So here,
let's
this we have created object student, correct?
yeah. So remember in this this is student model, right?
Yeah.
This
Here
one.
we have class student and
Yeah, the
class
same class we're using here, right?
class and object also student,
Yeah, it's capital S and small s. You can
Yeah,
give
yeah,
anything. It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
matter. You can use S1
yeah,
if you want, right?
yeah, yeah, fine, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's get an implementation class. So let's try right click on this. Let's get a new class. Okay. Since you see the package is DAO only, so you can give any name. Let's give it student DAO, and it's an implementation. The implementation. Okay. Yeah. So now this is the class. So we need to implement student DAO. So let's write it here. So you will write implements student DAO. Okay. So you will add unimplemented methods. Yeah. You can see this. So these are the methods now we have to implement here. Okay.
So once again, what can you do? Control Z. What you did, then suddenly all came.
Okay. So
You
this is suggestions. Okay. You can see this add unimplemented methods. Just click on that. Okay. If,
all the
yeah.
methods.
So we have defined these methods in the DAO interface. So we now we will implement it here. Okay. One by one. Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now let's start first. Okay. So now what you're actually is it not, right? Okay. So we have inbuilt methods which we have to use. Okay. Actually, we're going to use session factory for that. Okay. So firstly, we need to add an annotation here at the repository. Add the repository. This is a Spring annotation, right? Just a minute. Done. Yeah. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So I was saying, so we need to add this added repository. So there's Spring annotations that will make this class as a DAO bean, right? So this will tell Spring to automatically detect and register this bean during the component scanning, right? So then we will have the auto wired, added auto wired here. Okay. So let me write it here. Added auto wired. So you will auto wired private session. So let's write private session factory. Okay. Then you can give the name session factory. It's okay. Yeah. So no need to do it right now. Anything. Just when we add the dependency, it will work. Okay. So now let's see what is happening. So what is added auto wire? So it is just the automatic injection of the session factory, right? Session factory beans, which is a setup in a Spring configuration. So we will add this in a Spring configuration. Okay, so here we're just automatically injecting it. Okay, the Spring injects the Hibernate session factory so that we can interact with the database. So we need it so that we can interact with database. Now to perform all the operation, CRUD operation with the database, we need this session factory. Okay, which we are injecting using the auto wired. Okay, and how will that Spring identify that this in here we specify by adding annotation added repository. So these uh, the most important things in the these types of project are the annotations. If you skip annotation, it will not work, right? So just focus on the annotation. Just like in this
So
model class, we have
annotation is to inject this session factory so that we can
annotation will
connect
help
with.
Spring MVC to know that this is an entity. Yeah, this is a table. So how do you know this is a table class? You have to add annotation. This is an ID field, okay, which is a primary key. This is a repository, right, in which we have this auto void is just used for the injection of the service session. Okay,
So that
let's say,
connectivity will be
yeah,
established between
yeah,
database and
because with
our
this
cloud.
only we are interact with the database. In this
Hmm.
we have inbuilt method which by which we can manipulate database. Okay, so you don't have to write it yourself, you have to just use the method provided by these. Okay, so the errors you're seeing here because we have not added a dependency in pom.xml. When we added a dependency, it will work fine. Okay, now let's go through this one by one. Okay, so let's first try to write the save students. Okay, so first of all, every time you have to create an instance of the session factory. Okay, so let me just do it. So session, let me just session 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 factory. Okay, get current session. Okay, same thing you have to do for other as well. Okay, now when you want to save the data, let's say we have this data in the form of this object, right, and we want to save into a database, right? So how will we use? So we have inbuilt function of the session which is save or update. So just we do that. So session, so we use save or update. So we'll pass the student. Okay, and then we save it. Next, when you want to get all the data, okay, so we have to write a query. Okay, so let's type it over here. So we need to return, okay, session dot create query. Okay, what is that? Which is from student. I want to need everything from student table. Okay, so I want every student class. I will want the student class. Okay, and we can get a result list, right? Result list, right? Now if you want a particular student, okay, you will pass the ID. Okay, so you will write here, so return session dot get, you will pass the student class and the ID and ID. Okay, and if you want to update, okay, you just try the update function. So these are inbuilt functions of provided by this, right? So don't worry about that. Update student. Okay, hibernate. Yeah, so let's say when you want to delete it, okay, so firstly you want to get a reference of the student, right? So you will get the student first. Okay, let's add session dot get student dot class, you have to pass. Okay, so student class one is a student class, another argument. If ID needed, you can pass. Okay, so then you will check if this is not null, then only you will delete it. So if the student is not equal to null, you will be deleting that. So these are also inbuilt function delete. Okay, so see, so save up for a student this data, we're using the method save or update. Okay, so if we are updating, you use update. If you want to get a particular data, you will get a this. Okay, if you want a date, you will use delete. If you want all this, you will use a create query. This you pass from student, it will result give a result set. Okay,
Where is the delete?
yeah, delete is this one.
If a student null session dot delete student
Yeah,
student.
because sometimes we are maybe getting the let's say we pass ID which is not there, so it will return us null. So right, so we can't delete on the null, right? So is this clear? So what? Let me just give you an overview again. So add the repository, which I told you, is a Spring annotations, which will make this class as a Dean bean, right? Dow bean, sorry. So right, this will tell Springs to automatically detect and register this bean during the component scanning, right? And when we use AutoWire, so AutoWire is an automatic injection of the session factory, right? Bean, which is a setup in the Spring configuration, which will do. Okay, and Spring injects the Hibernate session factory. This is a Hibernate session factory so that we can interact with the database. Okay, and session here is an Hibernate interface that will allows the interaction with the database, right? So session factory dot current session gets the current session per request for interacting with the database, right? Now, if we use save or update the student, okay, so basically this will save or update a student, right? If the student already exists, okay, it will just update the records. Otherwise, it will insert a new one. So if you see here the in the get all students, okay, this query session.create query, okay, so this will create a Hibernate query to fetch all the students records from the database. Now, when we're using dot get result, this will execute the query and return the result as a list. Okay. And if you talk about this one, gets by ID. So basically here this fetches the student by its primary ID, key ID, right? So when you're using the update, so using the update method, so it will update the student's record in database, right? So it will fetch now in the delete one, it will fetch the ID first, then it will delete if they found a student for the corresponding ID, right? So the key point which we have to remember from this is the one is a session factory. Okay. So this is the heart of Hibernate. Okay. So it will provide the session object. Okay. That will let you query, save, update, and delete the class, right? So we have inbuilt method which we have to use save or update. Okay. A magical method that handles both insert and update, right? So get, okay. So we can get an entity by its primary key. Okay. Or we can even execute a Hibernate query using a create query, right? So that's your student DAO class. Okay. So this will act as a middleman between your app and the database, right? Okay. So this will simplify your CRUD operations. Okay. So next step we'll create as a service layer. Okay. But before that, I will give you the time to write the code. Okay. Then we will add a dependency so that we don't see these errors here. So because I'm not liking these error messages. So after that, we will first add dependency in form.xml so that we not see these errors. Okay. So let me share all these files in the chat so that you can also practice it. So let me share in the chat.
No issue. We will practice after the class, sir.
No, I'm just sharing the code of the files code.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you can practice even after the class. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. So what is left? DAO implementation.
एक्चुअली ये सेव तो हो गया ना आपका, तो इसको आप अलग अलग फाइल बन रहा है ना तीनों, ऑल
Yes.
थ्री?
Here you're asking in the chat or where?
No, no, I mean, if possible, share the file itself in the chat.
Okay. That I will share when we are complete this project. I will make the zip file and share with that as well, right? But for now, just for understanding purpose only, right? So once
Okay.
project is done, I will share the whole project. Don't worry,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Okay. So any doubts so far?
So in this we are using the Hibernate instead of SQL database, and in the Hibernate we use the session factory
Yeah.
to
So
establish connection with the database to the entity, or we can say the
mhm.
class.
Because in session factory you have the inbuilt method to save the data in database, update, delete, whatever you want to do. We have the inbuilt
For the
methods, right?
CRUD operation, we have the inbuilt methods like save
Yeah,
day, save
exactly.
update,
So let's
create
say
query.
you don't want to use Hibernate, you have the MySQL, or you want to connect with. So there
Hmm.
are multiple options for that. As let's say we can use JDBC.
So
I think yesterday we discussed we can use
yeah,
JDBC in which we have to
in
write the
JDBC we
SQL.
can.
In JDBC we have to write the SQL queries to perform these operations. Okay, so we're not using
Mhm.
the inbuilt method. We have to write proper SQL queries for all the operation to save, update, delete. Right? Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. So, but there is other better option as well, which we see in the other modules, upcoming modules. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. For now, let's move ahead. Now let's see how we can use the a service class. Okay, so basically, again, just like this DAO class, we need to write the interface and implementation of the service as well, right? Okay, so what is the unique about service? Okay, so in DAO, what we happen, basically like the CRUD operation. So we have to understand what we do in each file. Okay, in model class, we just mention the tables and its fields, right? In DAO class, we just mention how we perform the CRUD operation, right?
Hmm.
Right. And now in
Hmm.
service classes, where we're actually writing the logic, the business logic. Okay, when to call these methods. Okay,
Okay.
let's try that. Actually, it's nothing but the methods of the DAO class we are going to use in the service layer. So we'll tell us when the user request get all data, then we have to return this function. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
You will see it better when I create it. Okay. Let's quickly create it. It's very simple. If you understand DAO one, then it will be easy for you to understand the service one. Okay. So first of all, the package you can mention here is com dot student app dot service. Okay, and you can give the class name as a student service. Okay.
One question.
Yes.
In this, there is three options on the downside, whether you need to enter from the public string like that one. And can you open that class?
Where?
Uh, Create one class in the same
Okay, new class.
uh, class.
Yeah, where? Yeah, this
Here,
one modify you asked me.
no. Downside, which method steps would you like to create? So you are using here inherited abstract methods, but
Oh, okay, so
other
this is
side.
okay.
So yeah, if you
If,
will click on the first one also, then it's okay. Or I
no, no,
mean,
no, no. Okay, actually, what happened is if you add this one, it will add a main method here, but
main method
we
only.
don't require the main method,
Okay, we
right?
don't require here. That's why we are not clicking this.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say because we don't want to run it or test it right now, right? That's why.
Okay,
It's like just like you have added the class, and to run the class, you write a main method, right? But we don't require. If it's required, then depending on the situation, it will be used, right? For now, it is not, right?
understand.
Great. Okay, so we have student service. So first of all, okay, so you have to again, it is an interface. So just replace the class with the interface. Again, here you have to mention all the methods only. Okay, what are the methods we need? Again, to save a student, right? What else?
Get
To get a
a
student,
student,
get all the students correct,
one student.
right? To get a particular student by ID.
Get a student by ID or name.
Yeah, by ID. Next, we may want to update the student.
Update the student list.
Yeah, update the student, or maybe delete it, right? Delete a student by ID. So here also you just try to write the interface. Okay, just mention the method name. Okay, so you will write again void save student. Okay, so student. So make sure you import the student class. Yeah. So next we have the list of student. Okay, and then we have the get all students. Yeah, import the list as well. Yeah. Now to get a particular student, return type is student. You can give the names get student by ID int ID, right? Similar to what we did in the DAO interface, right? Then we have the void update student. Okay, then we have student. Yeah, then we have the void delete student integer ID. Yeah, so you can see this. We have this interface, right? Now we'll create another class. So these methods in the student service are similar to the ones we defined in DAO, right? But the service layer is where you will typically add any business logic. or you can add validations or transformations of the data, right? Okay, so let's say you have in DAO, you normally have this CRUD operation, right? But before calling that function, if you want to add any other checks, like if name, email ID are present or not, then only you will perform like that, anything which you want to do. Okay, so interface doesn't handle the database interactions, it will delegate the responsibility to the DAO layer, right? So you don't performing the CRUD operation here, but you just making sure before calling everything is fine. Okay, after calling everything is fine, right? Okay, if any modification you need to do before and after, in that you just add that, right? Now we'll get our implementation. End out in this one. Yes, guys, end out in this one.
No.
Okay, let's quickly get our implementation then. Go to the service, go to the new, go to the class. Okay, give it the name. Let's see, student service implementation. Okay, so this will implement the interface student service. Okay, implements. So add unimplemented methods. Okay, yeah, so you can see now again we have this methods to implement. Okay, so now here, see, I told you what we need to use, the methods which we have defined in the DAO class, right? So so how we will use the methods here? We need to inject that DAO class here. Okay, so remember in DAO we use the methods in the session factory. See here.
Yeah. Session
In here
factory first.
we have used the session factory, right? Methods. So, but now here it is a reverse thing. Now here we want to use the methods of the DAO class. So what I need to write here? Just like section factory, we will auto wired it, right? So auto wired DAO functions. Auto wired. So private student DAO with the name student DAO. Understand why we write this?
Yeah, you will auto implement all the methods of a student
Yes. So we are just
implementation
injecting
class.
this DAO class. Okay. Yeah. So why we're injecting? So that we can use their functions. Okay. Just like in DAO, we have injected this session factory so that we can use the session factory method. Similarly here, so we have injected the DAO class so that we can use the methods. Now we have mapped this as a repository, right? Similarly, we map this as a service because it's a service, right? So we have the separate annotation for this. So we need to make this class as a service class. So add it service. Yeah. Okay. Now let's try to call the function. Basically nothing. You have to just call the function of DAO. Okay. So in here, so you will call the student DAO. Okay, student DAO. You will call the function save student, right? That's it. Okay. Next, when you want to get a list of students, you will return. You will call this calling the function of the DAO. Okay. Student DAO dot get all students. Okay. Next, here you're calling the function. Okay, so get student by ID. So we have the corresponding function for this as well. So return student DAO dot get student by ID. Perfect. Now in this we need to call the update function. So we're returning student DAO dot update student. Yes, and lastly we have to delete it. So student DAO dot delete student. Perfect. That's it. Simple enough, right? Right? So you have to write in this logic only. First, try to write the model classes. Okay, maybe you require one or maybe multiple. Then DAO classes. In DAO, you write CRUD operations. Okay, how to perform the CRUD operation. Depending on the scenario, what is the database, it will vary, right? Now, in the service implementation, you have this logic. Okay, you are calling the function of the DAO layer. Okay. and you can add other checks as well. But yeah, it's to keep it simple like this only. So basically, let me just give you overview. So we have used the added service annotation. So this annotation marks this class as Spring service bean, right? So Spring will automatically detect and register this class during the component scan, right? And then we have add the auto wire. So the Spring in dependency injection we have here. So this will tell Spring to automatically inject the instance of student DAO into the student service implementation class. So it makes the DAO student DAO available in this class so that it can perform all the necessary operation. And then we perform the CUD operations basically. Okay, so we have the separation of concerns, right? So service layer just handle the business logic and DAO layer is performing the database operation, right? So the thing which you have to understand is that the business logic layer, service layer, act as a middleman between the controller, that is your UI layer, and the data layer, that is DAO. Okay, so it manages data and often handles the logic that isn't directly related to the database operations, right? So we have used two annotations. One is added service, added and auto wire. So added annotation make it Spring that it is a service bean so that we can allow Spring to manage it. The next auto wire is for the dependency injection so that we inject the student DAO class and we can use their DAO methods. That's it. Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let me share the code in the chat as
Yeah,
well.
we injected because the student DAO is the that middleman. It's like a middleman, correct? It's like a
Middleman.
middleman, or we can say bridge interface to the business
Who is the
logic.
middleman?
Or
Service layer or
no,
DAO?
service layer is the interface to connect to the
No, no, no. You're confusing it. Let me explain. Okay, so whenever you have a request,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
So let's say you have a request,
hmm.
okay? It will send to the controller,
Yeah,
okay? Right? Controller will accept that request, okay? I will process the request and send back what? Response, okay?
hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Response here
Right?
in return.
In return, right? So who is
Hmm.
interacting with the user?
Who interact with the
Con- Controller.
controller will interact with the user, and controller will interact on the backend like the whatever class is there.
Let me tell you what is happening here. So
Hmm.
this is you consider it as UI layer
Okay.
controller, basically. Okay. Now let's say you have a database, okay, right?
Yeah.
So in database, if you want to update anything in the database, which how are you updating it? By using DAO class, right?
Yeah.
Remember? So your
Yeah.
DAO is your data layer
Okay.
because you're updating data using the DAO layer, data layer. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Now the service layer is in between, intermediate between these controller and the DAO layer. So your service layer. Okay. In service layer, you will write the business logic. Okay. Okay, so I will tell you what happened. Let's say I send a request to get all the student data. Okay,
Hmm.
so this will be accepted by the controller. Okay,
Hmm.
okay. Then in controller we have the mapping. Like if we have this path, okay, okay. So basically, controller decide. Okay, if this is a request, where to go. Okay, let's say if request is slash students, right? So in service we have the we need to okay. So we'll return a view. In that view, we need all the data. Okay, so in between he will call this service function, that is this get all data, right? So we have
Yeah.
method here, but we are not performing the CRUD operation here. Okay, so service layer inbuilt use this data list. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So services
Understand.
layer is a middleman between the controller and the DAO. Okay.
Okay. So right now we have created DAO class, and we have created
Yeah.
service
So what
class
we
all.
usually do, we go on the reverse manner. We usually go on the reverse manner. We create a
Okay.
database. We create a student model, right? Then we create a DAO class. Then we create a service. Okay. Then we create a controller. Okay. Okay. Then
Now,
we create a JSP views which we can show.
so
Okay.
now we will come to controller part, correct?
Yes. So we will come to the controller part. We'll define the which views to show which one, right? Then we'll perform the that one. What is the JSP views? Okay, a lot of stuffs. Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
understand. Yeah. Now.
Any doubts so far?
No.
Great. So let's take a break for the 5 to 10 minutes. Just go through that. If you have doubts, just let me know. Okay. Then we can continue.
Sure.
Okay.